So you spent also a lengthy tenure in the investment world as well with Ernst Ventures, where you reviewed thousands of business plans. For entrepreneurs and business owners that listen, and a lot of them listen to our show, what are some of the biggest things you looked at when you looked at business plans? And when you still look at business plans, what are some tips and ideas? And what's your whole thought about a business plan, putting it together, how people are held accountable to it? Talk a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah. And that's a big question that could go on for a long time longer.
I know.
But the first thing that I always look at is I go to the team and I see the backgrounds of the team members, how long they've been there, what they've done before this, just to gauge the overall strength of the team. That really will give me more insight into the believability of the plan itself. So after I do that, I look at the service that's being offered or the product that's being offered and really understand if it's something that's needed by the consumer. If it is, go down the next step we go down to, we looked at specifically the unit economics of the opportunity. And so, in franchising, we talk a lot about unit economics. What's the return over the investment? How long does it take to generate positive cash flow? Those things are all really important. Over all of that, especially for some of these early stage companies, what we're really looking at is growth. Growth can take care of a lot of things. We're not talking 5, 10% growth. We're talking 50, 75%, 100% year over year growth. And if we start seeing high growth numbers, we really feel like there's something that the founder of the company has figured out, team has figured out. And so that really, for the early stage stuff, that's really important.
So if you're looking at a person's business plan, and we're talking a person that's going to start $100 million company and have to go get funding, or you're talking someone coming out of college and starting their own business. I know you just said growth, but what separates a good business plan, a great business plan, from someone that just kind of threw something together real quick?
Part of it is the realistic nature of the plan. And so that's where it really comes back to the team. And so I can look at certain business plans and I can see things that immediately would consider, at least I would say this will never happen. I mean, I've looked at a couple just in the last year. I asked the founder, so how many stores will you get to by year 3? You're at about 10. And the answer was 1,000.
And you're like, what?
And so when I was looking at the financials, none of this was really laid out, right? He had a revenue number, but he didn't have any supporting assumptions. So I sort of had to ask for the assumptions. And then I said, well, how many do you have under development now? What is the average time it takes to develop this? So because they have to they got to find the franchisee, then they got to find a location, then they got to negotiate lease. They got to get building approval, permits, then they got to do the build out, then they do the launch. And so when you're talking bricks and mortar, this is a 9-month to 18-month ordeal. And so if you don't have all of this in the pipeline, it's huge. The reality is that 1,000 stores, in my opinion, they would be lucky if they get to 100 or 100 stores.
Yeah. And you balance, all of us leaders, we don't want to squash people's dreams.
Oh.
How do you balance that of this isn't realistic, but hey, I love the way you're thinking that way. I love, let's refine that.
It is. You want a founder that's passionate. You want a founder that is experienced, but most important above all, you want a founder that's honest.
Yeah.
And it's very important to be honest with yourself. You can never BS yourself. If you start BSing yourself, that's the end. So when I see unrealistic expectations, maybe they're just trying to drive up the valuation, or maybe they really believe that. I think that's sort of what you have to peel the onion on. Do they really believe they can do this? If so, that's a different issue to sort out. Or are they trying to get the valuation business up? What is it? Because there's two different things.